Hi lovelies, welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video. So lovely, so I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to share with you guys where a lot of people are actually reacting to the bill that was passed that is actually going to affect women in general. I'm just going to roll the clip. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes, lovelies. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
So I just woke up, and the first video I see on this app is that South Carolina has introduced a fucking bill that says they have the right to execute women who seek out an abortion. Not have an abortion, which is already insane, but women who seek out an abortion, they want to be able to execute them. I cannot believe that we are entering into 2025 and that this type of shit is on our timeline. Like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on. I don't understand how this is even being allowed to be presented as a bill. I'm not a religious person. I have never believed in organized religion of any sort, but I do consider myself spiritual. And so I'm kind of wondering, are we really at the end of times? Is this like what they say is in the book of Revelations? Like, I don't understand this. I don't understand what type of people are sitting in their houses and thinking that this type of shit is okay, that this is the type of shit that we need as a country. I don't get this. I don't understand how we are allowing this to even be presented. Why aren't people looking at this shit and ripping it up? What is happening?
I want to break down the implications yet again of South Carolina, their Prenatal Equal Protection Act, from a healthcare and legal perspective. This proposed bill aims to define life as beginning at fertilization, which would subject women seeking abortions to potential homicide charges, and these charges can carry the death penalty. So let that sink in. As a nurse, I know firsthand how complex and personal medical decisions can be. Healthcare providers work tirelessly to balance their ethical duties with patient autonomy. But what happens when the law interferes with this delicate balance? From a legal standpoint, of course, this bill raises serious questions about due process, equal protection under the law, and implications for healthcare access. Who would decide what qualifies as intentional killing versus necessary medical care? And how would this law impact marginalized communities where healthcare disparities already exist? Practically speaking, the fear of prosecution could deter women from seeking life-saving care, even in emergencies like miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies. It could also place providers in impossible positions, forced to weigh legal risk against their oath to, quote, do no harm. It's essential to think critically about the ripple effects of such legislation, not just for those directly affected, especially the women in South Carolina, but for the broader healthcare system. We really need to continue to ask ourselves, are we creating policies that foster health and well-being, or ones that compound harm? Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this. I'm personally just appalled at the state of South Carolina right now. If you've seen multiple videos that I've already made about this one state and their ridiculous bills and laws that are harming patients and stripping civil rights, please just give me your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the dialogue open. Remember, you got to understand the intersection of healthcare and law, which is actually very critical and crucial for advocating for fair and ethical policies.
So South Carolina just reintroduced their Prenatal Equal Protection Act. Bill 3537. Go look it up. This bill is going to punish women with taking their life away or keeping them in prison for life if they engage in any activity that results in them losing their pregnancy. This includes any physically demanding job, like bartending. It includes air travel, horseback riding, weightlifting, eating sushi. It includes riding a roller coaster. So, now if you're a woman and you have a job that is physically demanding, or you go on vacation, or you do any activity that results in you losing your pregnancy, they're going to prosecute you as if you've taken the life of a full-grown person. That is what South Carolina has put on the table. So if you live in South Carolina, call your representatives and tell them to take this horrific bill and shove it. Because this will take women backwards. Women will no longer be allowed to accept challenging jobs of any kind. Women will no longer be able to engage in activities that they want to engage in. This will be used to keep women out of lots of places, and it's horrendous that they're trying to do this, and they're calling it prenatal. It's garbage.
There is currently a bill on the table in South Carolina that basically says that if a woman terminates a pregnancy, then she could be charged with homicide and thus face the death penalty. So this bill has been proposed by State Representative Rob Harris, and basically what he's trying to do is amend the South Carolina Criminal Code so that a fertilized egg or an embryo is also classified as a person. And he basically says that this is regardless of what stage of development the fetus is in, and it actually includes the word "the moment of fertilization" frequently in the text. Now, before I tell you where this bill currently stands, let me tell you what's at stake. Under current South Carolina law, if somebody is convicted of murder, they receive a minimum sentence of 30 years up to life. Now, under certain circumstances, including when a child aged 11 years old or younger, which would include a fetus, is murdered, then the minimum sentence ranges from life in prison at a minimum to the death penalty, and it's a either or. So where does this bill currently stand? Well, the bill, which is titled South Carolina Prenatal Equal Protection Act of 2023, it's currently awaiting action by the state's House Judiciary Committee. I can also tell you that between January and February of this year, this bill managed to garner 23 additional co-sponsors. It's also not a stretch to think what would happen if they decide that women caused a miscarriage. But here's the silver lining. You can see that this is an older article, and Huffington Post decided to do an update and ask the legislators where they currently stand, and a lot of them are backpedaling. Rob Harris isn't, but a lot of them are.
We have breaking news out of South Carolina, where South Carolina Republicans have just refiled legislation that would allow prosecutors to charge women who receive reproductive care with homicide. Now, this bill was first introduced in South Carolina in 2023, but it received significant national pushback and made zero headway. And now, South Carolina lawmakers want to add sections to the South Carolina state law by enacting the South Carolina Prenatal Equal Protection Act of 2023. It would change the current laws from the word person to include an unborn fetus, which means that a woman in South Carolina could be charged with murder and face the death penalty if she received reproductive care. Well, we beat the bill once. We can do it again. We need to make national coverage of what is happening in South Carolina right now, which means I need your help to spread the word on this new refiled legislation by South Carolina lawmakers. I will keep talking about it, and I encourage you to do the same. Convo your thoughts, spread the word, and as always, follow along to stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about.
A woman, 22 years old in South Carolina, has been charged with homicide because she had a miscarriage. 22-year-old college student was charged with homicide by child abuse in South Carolina after suffering a miscarriage. Thankfully, a grand jury declined to pursue charges against the student last week, but this is another example of the criminalization nightmare that we can expect to see over and over again. Her story is very similar to the one in Ohio, Brittany Watts, who was charged with abuse of a corpse after flushing her miscarriage. Doctors tell women to go home and try to pass their fetuses when they're having a miscarriage, when they die. And they ask them to do that. And then if things don't progress the way that they're supposed to, they ask them to come back so that they can go do a DNC. This is getting delayed more and more and more. My mother could have died when she had to have a DNC back in the 70s. And they would not do that on her. They kept sending her back home, and she just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. I remember this as a child, watching her. I'm going to keep reporting on these stories as much as I possibly can. A lot of people want to keep these private because they don't want their miscarriages to be politicized. They want the privacy. This has got to stop. Vote blue, down the ballot, everywhere.
Hi, North Carolina is about to be ground zero for a bunch of terrible things that are immediately going to be echoed by a bunch of other states in the country if they are not currently being echoed. The state government has made a bunch of moves in the past few days that have confirmed my greatest fears. For those who don't know, prior to this most recent election, Republicans in the North Carolina House and Senate held a veto-proof supermajority underneath a Democratic governor. They are now losing that supermajority, so they are using their last dying breaths to pass legislation that effectively limits the power of several major key figures in the state. So basically, the North Carolina Senate passed a bill that was then vetoed, and then they overruled the veto for a bill that was written in secret and effectively only exists to strip power from North Carolina's next state governor, who will also be Democrat. Did a bunch of things, including handing over the ability to control the state board of elections to state auditor when previously the governor would appoint new people to those positions. Additionally, if a judge steps down, they have to be replaced by the recommendation of their party. So if a Republican judge steps down, a Democratic judge cannot be appointed in his place. It has to be a Republican. But the thing that frightens me the most is the bill that they passed calls for a constitutional convention. They are claiming that it is to put term limits in Congress. But if we get a constitutional convention, they can overturn anything. They can overturn women's right to vote. They could legitimately reinstate slavery. It doesn't matter whether or not you think that is what will happen. That can happen at a constitutional convention. Any single one of our constitutional amendments could be, or all of them could be repealed at a constitutional convention. Things are looking very, very, very bad. Please keep track of the bills that your state, Senate, and houses are passing, especially if you live in a state with a veto-proof supermajority. It should not be a thing that exists.
Seriously, lovely, it's so funny that this kind of bill is actually passed in order to aid with women who maybe are in some type of, threat, maybe have complications in times of pregnancies and all of that. And because of that, they decide or choose to, put it out in order to prevent further complications. And on doing so, you are going to be charged or jailed because of that. But there's some group of, male figure who actually raped, women or whatsoever that they did, and these people are just still roaming around and nothing was done about it. A lot of people were so confused in times of if Project 2025 was something that would be put in place or not. And people were like, okay, it's Project 2025 is nothing, but it's as if it's something. And this project was the same thing that they asked about if he, the orange man was involved or he know anything about it, and he denied. He was like, I don't know anything about the Project 2025 you guys are talking about, but his friends, subordinate, and all of that are the ones are in charge of it. A lot of people were like, this is going to affect a lot of women. But people do not understand when people say that. They really want to strip out, women's rights. Like, people were thinking abortion is just, a group of women going all around, getting pregnant and trying to get rid of it. There are some complications that warrant you to take a fetus out. There is this particular video I staged, which till today, I was like, this is something that is very preventable. This lady or a girl, she's about 17 years, who probably, was pregnant, and she wants to keep this baby. She wants to keep the pregnancy. She even goes as far as, having these baby showers and all of that. And all of a sudden, after 5 months of her carrying this pregnancy, she started having complications, and she has to go to, the gynecologist and hospitals and all of that. Instead of them to do the proper examination, they keep sending her home. But this lady keep complaining until when she could not even complain anymore. That is when she have this emergency whatsoever that they have to rush her to the hospital. And instead of this doctor to perform something that will actually save her, he left it because of what? Because of things like this. He was looking for permissions. Like, that was how they did, and this lady and her born baby was nowhere to be found. Like this and so many other cases like this. There are so many complications that come with being pregnant. If you're a mother or someone that already given birth before, you should understand that pregnancy is something that is so unpredictable. You would think that you are so fine in 1 minute, in second, you're already fighting for yourself and for your unborn child. This is pregnancy we are talking about. I'm not talking about people who decided to, go around and just feel that it's so right to keep doing these abortions and all of that. But there are so many things you actually need to put into consideration before passing a bill like that. You just want to, strip out rights from women and make them, I don't just understand. That means this man that said your body, our choice is actually, right. Like, they want to take control of women and everything that has to do with being a woman. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We just share for educational and informative purposes. So guys, if you've not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like this video, and to my returning subscribers, those people that share my videos, you guys are the real MVP, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.
Up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. All right, lovelies, so please share, subscribe, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.